What's going on? My name is Tim Amoroso from No Cover. The video you're about to watch, Nombe, was one of the best interviews I feel I've ever done, and I'm super proud of it. However, a part of it was deleted somewhere in the middle of it, and that memory only lives with me in my heart. But this guy is amazing. He is so special and genuine and curious about the world. Um, I hope you enjoy this interview.
Like none of this is real. Um, and it's easy to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to say like, well, this part here is bullshit, so the whole thing must be a scam. But that's also a fallacy. You know what I mean? It's sort of, for anything to work, there has to be some true core that is really powerful, intriguing. Like even Scientology has great concepts. Like, and it's just how do you apply that? How do you use that? And so I think the church has done itself a huge disservice with a lot of policies and um but I mean, that's how I feel about all religion. It's just like I kind of come from Catholicism, and I've met good and bad people in all from all walks of life. I don't want to even.
Yeah, and on the same token, like I know I said there's a lot of hypocrisy, but I've also met the best people in the world there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's definitely on both. You were speaking about aliens earlier. Are you in the belief that maybe like King Tut was sent here from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I do. I think that these are beings that are related to us, and I think that there is a much greater population of conscious of of more evolved beings that are not better than us, but have sort of gone through these life cycles more that we have gone through. And I think that they have come to us historically as, but we've always mislabeled them as gods or angels or spirit guides. They're other humans. They're just another type of being that has an interest in us. Um, and I believe that historically that interest was to exploit us and exploit our resources and be worshipped. And I think over time, they've also come to realizations that we need to get on their level, and that ultimately our exploitation causes their demise too. And so it is their sort of mission to educate us on how to raise our consciousness. And so they can only do that with nudges and hints, because that is a journey that has to come from within. It's like the big question is like, well, if there is a God, like why isn't he, he or she, um I mean, I think of God as like isness. I think of God as existence. I'm just being like sarcastic, but um if God, why can't God change everything, make everything perfect, right? If it's all powerful. And I think that is sort of a philosophical dilemma, because the greatest gift you can give someone, I think, is freedom. And that includes freedom to make bad choices. And only through our experiences and the mistakes we make, we can realize what is the right thing to do. It's sort of like, it's sort of like getting a job like right out of college without ever having done it. You've only heard that drugs are bad. You've only read about it, but until you've like really been addicted, you could never fully understand and realize. And so I think these beings, if you want to call them gods or whatever, I don't believe in that sort of hierarchy, but I think they're letting us do our thing right now, but giving us this knowledge through, you know, whether it's historically Angel Gabriel or some person that somebody's tapped into right now, or whether it's an emotion that we're getting and being channeled, and
Do you
whether
think
it's an
that the
intuition.
aliens are interdimensional, or or in
Yeah,
space, or do you feel they're on our plane?
you know, that book Gods of Eden actually dives
I
into
wrote
that.
it down. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, and there's, well, according to this whole school of thought, which I'm also still learning how I feel about this. Like, I'm not like, you know, the preacher of that. Like, I just know that the idea is that there's many different types of species, some that are physical and some are conscious, and they're almost like imagine like in Star Wars. Like, I don't know if you like Star Wars. I'm like a big Star Wars fan. Like,
You are.
just different races of aliens. Like, some are like super evolved, others are more like us, others are more three-dimensional. They want to have sex, they want to eat, they want to, you know, they're more in the business of keeping their body alive, and that's what we're doing right now. I think we identify with our body so much that we think that's all there is, and so that becomes the biggest focus. Like, how can I have the best food, how can I have the, you know, sexiest partner, how can I make the most money? And it's very like tribal, you know what I mean? It's essentially everything we've been doing. And so that's why I think we call it a lower vibration, because the lower vibration gets, the more it becomes like physically manifested. And the church calls it evil or sin or bad, but I just say like it's whatever. Like, you can do anything you want. Just understand that, like, if you assume only that you're the body, then you're kind of stuck, you know. And I think that's what hell is, but hell is subjective, you know. Like,
Yeah.
maybe just being on earth is so much less than being pure consciousness, that once you experience the other, like, maybe just this is hell, you know. Like, who knows? But yeah, like, I sort of, I've been reading and watching these podcasts, and it talks about like benevolent, higher dimensional races that want us to sort of get there, and other races we're essentially competing with that are also sort of exploiting the fact that we're stuck, you know?
I
But it's
I've heard the
it's
same
crazy stuff, man.
stuff, man. I and like it's hard. Like I don't when I know this stuff, like I want to talk to other people about it, but I'm nervous. Like they're
Yeah.
just gonna dismiss it right away. You know?
Yeah, and bro, I try to always tie it back to like some scientific backbone, and I say these things because I've studied different areas throughout my life, and I've had great interest in everything from like quantum physics, particle physics, to spirituality, and Eastern philosophy, and all these things. And when you put that into context text with why so many um, beliefs have the same trajectory, the same core sort of things, with like a prophet coming and speaking to them, and they're all light, and, you know, this idea of love and fear, um, and then quite literally like architectural structures and all these things. You start to wonder what is it about afterlife, you know, or about this idea of leaving your body behind, that is so profound that it's everywhere. As soon as we could articulate, we start formulating these thoughts. And of course it's like attractive, you know, as a thought that we're afraid to die. But I think there's so much detail there, even in Hindu scripture, or like the Vedas, that are 10,000-year-old texts that describe atoms in accurate detail, and describe, you know, the places we come from.
Mhm.
And and then I look at, you know, like the theory of dimensions and higher consciousness and multiverses and where life can exist. Like the majority of things we see are not what's there. There's more stuff there we can't perceive with our senses than what we can. And so
I was trying to explain that to my kids the other night.
yeah.
Using the eyes, right, as a, like, you can see one plane, and then you put on 3D glasses, another one. If you you
Yeah.
can ultraviolet, you can you know, glow in the dark, you know, it's infrared.
Yeah.
There's so many different planes that we're not being able to register, and the same thing with feelings and body.
Yeah, dude. And coming from a place of music, like, you know, we have a sound spectrum of like 44,000 hertz. Yeah, 44,000 hertz or 44 kilohertz. And we only hear till like 21, 22, right? And so half of sounds we can't or shall never hear. You know what I mean? Like if we had like a bat's hearing and we could hear like at like an ultrasound level, like we could compose at that level, but we can't. We can only hear half the spectrum. We can see much less of the color spectrum. You know, we have a much weaker sense of smell than most animals. We don't have, you know, like a electromagnetic sense the way birds do or the way sharks do. Like we're missing out on so much of just Earth experience, just what's here. And every sense we do have comes from evolution and a necessity. And so if we don't have something right here in front of us, our bodies would have never developed a way to perceive it. But I think it is wrong to then reversely assume that there is no more things to perceive. You know what I mean? That's like a false logic. That's like saying the sun is hot, everything yellow is hot, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what we do historically, and we're so arrogant in that. And it's also like non-scientific to look at the world like that and be like, well, we haven't seen it, so for sure it's not there.
It's not really, yeah. So I have a theory. I wanted to run it by you just because you seem like a like-minded person.
Yeah.
So my buddy came up with this theory the other day, um, that the Earth is bigger than what we're being led to believe, and maybe outside of us, there's more Earth that we're just not aware of. And that's where the aliens are coming from, or other people and other technologies. It blew my mind when he told me about it. I was like, oh, shit. I mean, it could make sense.
Well, I mean, anything's possible, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I would say that only thing with that is like I guess people traveling in planes, or I'm saying like if the Earth was larger, it was always larger. And at what point did they decide to hide it from us? You know, and who's they? Because like if there were aliens 5,000 years ago, I mean, why need to hide if basically you could just walk up to them? You know, it seems almost like it's the thing that's like a problem for me with like there's people who think the moon is fake.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing with that is like, well, what's the incentive, and how grossly difficult it be to fake the moon at with no reward? You know what I mean? It's just like it would cost like I don't know, like
No, I know what you're saying, because that's a David Icke thing, huh? Where he says that the moon is made of metal and it's like a sort of Death Star type of thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, or yeah, like there's just some people make possibility probability, and I'm careful with that. even though I mean I talk about like aliens and shit, but I'm skeptical with even that. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah,
skeptical with a
me too.
lot of
I'm super skeptical. Even though I
that.
think about it, it's like, maybe not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And but I'm not like, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, you know, on the other hand, like the government lied to us about all kinds of stuff that turned out to be true. You know what I mean? And it just always has to align with like why, what's the sort of, like if you don't have all the facts, at least we can reason as to what would the probability be, why is a person doing this. And if it's sort of about money or power, I can see people do something for sure. But when people tell me, oh, they're protecting us, or it's for our own good, or it's these vague things, like moral things, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like
Have you heard of Rear Admiral Byrd before?
one sec. Hello? Hello? Yo, I'm having an interview right now. Who's okay, I'll just leave your mail here, bro. Hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm actually on an interview. Yeah. Sorry, just my buddy real quick. You want to hang out for a sec? I'm gonna need like a while. I gotta go, bro. Okay. Hey, call me in a little bit. I'll call you. Yeah, I'll call you. That's so funny. My buddy just called me. I haven't seen him in a long time. I feel bad, but.
All right, I'll hurry it up.
Huh? What'd you say?
I'll hurry it up.
No. Yeah, no, it's all good. I have interviews for the next 2 hours, so
Okay.
I gotta go. Okay.
So, do you know Rear Admiral Byrd after World War II was commissioned by the United States to go fly on the coast or pole to pole, and after that flight, they had a treaty with all the nations in the world that we're not going to go to Antarctica no more. And so,
Oh, that's right.
yeah. And also in his diaries, he talks of above the North Pole, there's a land of green, all green and beautiful, in sort of like this crater. And he says it goes down for miles with lakes and everything.
Above the North Pole.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's hard to imagine because we've been like taught so much what the map is that you can it's almost fantastical, but of course like we're just believing some interpretation. And Antarctica is a weird one. That's a weird one because you can definitely look it up and see that people don't go there, and you're you know what I mean. And that is strange because that has also never been logically explained by the government. Like we go anywhere and try to build houses and cities, and so
Except
I
that.
don't know. Yeah. Yeah,
Not.
for sure. I've heard wild theories about Antarctica. Um, and it's really interesting for sure.
I wanted to get to. I love talking this with you, man.
Yeah,
It's
likewise.
fucking awesome, and I appreciate you, like being so
Course.
down for a good conversation.
Absolutely.
I read in your write up about you were housing people in your hotel or in your house who have been victims of police brutality here in Los Angeles. I was just wondering what was happening in that time.
Oh, so much went down. I guess housing is like, seems like a strong word. I let them spend the night after they've been shot with rubber bullets. And
This is during the protests.
yeah, this was during the protests, and it was like a very tumultuous time, and I had been harassed by cops like 2 weeks prior, and then George Floyd got murdered. And you know, I mean, you saw it, like it was like pretty intense, like in LA specifically. And Um, and I lived in front of the police station. There were like these barricades, and these kids showed up one day, and because of the curfew, they couldn't go home. And I went outside because I just heard helicopters and this ruckus. Like I heard like a bunch of police cars show up, and like I heard cops yelling, you know. And so I went outside, and a bunch of neighbors came out, and basically these skater kids showed up, and some were bleeding and were covered in like white like tear gas stuff, and so I let them in just to figure things out because it was just not looking good, you know. Like the cops could see them. There was maybe 8 of them, and you know they were all Black and Hispanic, and I don't know. The cops just started looking, and it kind of felt like they were about to come over and tell us, you know, to go somewhere or ask us, take our IDs, whatever. So I just told them to come inside, and I couldn't get them rides home because of the curfew. Like nobody was allowed in my neighborhood, and Lyft was suspended. And long story short, because of that, all of their story got covered by different news sources, KTLA and NBC and ABC. They all came over to interview us and talk about this whole thing that happened because there was a video of them getting shot that had gone viral like overnight, and so police had to investigate. I tweeted at Black Lives Matter and these journalists who ended up doing like a TV segment, and all this ruckus meant that my landlord had to like look into it and had to talk to the cops, and then she saw the security footage of me having one of these kids sleep in my music studio, which is a storage space, which technically you're not allowed to have somebody sleep there. And so that like violated my lease, and she gave me 30 days notice to move out. And I feel like I sort of, she's been meaning to do that and just needed a reason. And so I talked about that on social media, then that blew up, and like Daily Mail talked about it, and then these actors started tweeting about it. It was like a whole thing, like attorneys being like, we can make your landlord's life hell. Like I was like, I don't want
Daily
that.
Mail, like Ben Shapiro? Is that the Ben Shapiro Daily Mail?
I don't know.
Okay, I was just wondering. I probably got it wrong.
Daily Paper or something. I forget. No, it was just because the actor Mila Jovovich like talked about it and was like, oh, like, you know, one of my favorite artists is being evicted from his studio, and this is not cool. And so some media outlets picked up that, and then it was just crazy. It was just so much going on, and this was like within the week of what I was saying, like, or within the month of, you know, everything, the tour, the album, being sued by my guitar player for the tour being pushed, and like crazy shit. And so I was just like, man, like I don't want to live here. Like I'm not trying to fight them and live here, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
And then my buddy who was just at the door actually was like, yo, you should move to Hawaii. And like 3 weeks later I came here.
Man.
It's been hella crazy.
I want to tell you that I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time right now. Thank you for the music you make. And
yeah,
I get it. So like I know there's nights where you're probably up and all anxietied out. Everything's gonna be cool. You're a special cat, and the world needs you. So thank you for your art, and I can't wait to write about you. You're an amazing man.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Um, yeah, thank you for your time. Likewise, it's great to meet you. Real quick, are you from Buffalo?
No, but I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. My
Okay.
father's from Buffalo.
Oh, I
He
see.
moved to California. I'm going to
Okay.
Buffalo next. I'm going to Buffalo on Monday.
Because my bass player, she's from Buffalo, and she always like we talk about it. My family's from New York on my mom's side, and I just always noticed that. I thought that's funny actually, because it's so rare that people are Buffalo Bills fans that are not from Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know, but
You a football fan?
mm, I'm getting hip to it more. But the people that introduced me, they're all from Pittsburgh. They're diehard Steelers
Oh, you don't want that.
fans, and that's what everybody says. But like I have so many homies from Pittsburgh. It's like a religion, bro. Like, and it gets political. And like since I grew up in Germany as a kid, I never had that. Like, I never had like you know Super Bowl like afternoons like hanging out, barbecuing. Like, I didn't build that emotional relationship with football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like I'm like the weird guy at the bar. Like when we're watching, I'm like, oh, who's that? Like, what does that mean? What are they doing? Like, I don't understand any of it, but you know, I'm just down. I'm just happy when your team wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a Buffalo Bill fan, man. For 4 years in a row, we went to Super Bowl and lost. So
Great.
I have to live. One before I die is my motto. Just one before I die.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's big. It's big. And
Hey, I do have one.
it's crazy what these players do. But yeah, I mean, I was just curious about the shirt because like a lot of great people are from Buffalo too, like Rick James and you know a lot of bass players actually.
Beth Phoenix
Yeah.
from WWF or WWE.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my last question. I'll leave it in this. Um,
Okay.
who would win in a fight, Batman or a silverback gorilla?
Batman or Silverback Gorilla? I mean, bro, a Silverback Gorilla would destroy any human being ever. And the thing with Batman is that he is the one superhero that actually has no powers. He has no, well, actually, so that's not true because right, he has his intellect and everything, and so he could probably do something. But if we're talking about Bruce Wayne taking his shirt off and fighting a gorilla, he'll get
Yeah, you
destroyed.
get smashed.
But
Batman suited up.
Batman suited up, he's got his gadgets. Oh shoot, that's tough. Yeah, because he's got like a gun with like a rope on it. He has probably like smoke balls and stuff. He could probably he probably has something that will put the gorilla to sleep or something.
And the one I was looking for is all right, let me see. I'm going to paraphrase it because you're a Star Wars fan. So I was like, oh, I should just get. So if Macaulay Culkin was trained by Jedi's, would he be able to stop Anakin?
If Macaulay Culkin
In Home
was,
Alone, that Kevin from Home Alone, that character was trained by Jedi's.
yeah,
So now would he be able to take over Anakin?
what Anakin are we talking about? Is he Darth Vader yet, or?
No, it's right on the cusp of Darth Vader.
I'd say no,
Yeah.
because, and here's why. Um, because Anakin has particularly what is it? He has like these blood cells. Like he has a higher concentration of these blood cells that make you in touch with the Force. And like Yoda has like the most, but Anakin almost has as much as Yoda.
Oh,
And so
you're a real Star Wars fan. Okay.
yeah,
Now I
yeah.
know who I'm talking to.
It's like the reason that he's so powerful is that he can attract the Force very easily. And so my answer would be like, there are other great Jedi that have been trained and couldn't stop him. So like, I don't see why Macaulay Culkin with training, you know what I mean? Like, it's like me being like, if I took boxing lessons, can I fucking fight Floyd Mayweather? It's like, there's great boxers that can't fight Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm deep in it, bro. I'm deep, man. Like for real. Like
I'm just barely starting to get super into it. That's why I'm like, oh,
it's good. It's good.
it is.
Yeah, sure.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy Hawaii, and I'll never forget this, man. This is an awesome moment in my life. So thank you.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Let me know if you're ever in Hawaii. If I'm around, man, we'll get a beer or something.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? Yeah, it's a pleasure, bro. I'll see you soon.
All right, we'll talk. Have a good one.
You too. Have a great one, brother.